Done. And now it's time to look into the papers. And of course, the big news that is still happening and still getting the top page is Kenya's best list of top schools in last year's KCSE examination. That has been highlighted as well, just to give us a comparison of what has happened right now and what happened before. And that is a story that you can look into more detail. That is on page 3 and also page 4 and 5. I see Moi High School, Kabarak was was actually the very first, that was the top school in KCSE last year with a mean score of 10.4. We had Mudasa Senior Secondary School following closely with 10.4 as well. Kapsabet High School with 10.2. Light Academy Mombasa with 10.18. Kenya High 9.9, then Pangani Girls with 9.9, which is in Nairobi. And I think there is a very huge improvement with Alliance High School, because last year we had them quite low because they had a mean score of 9.591 as compared to now, because now wanashindana pale juu wakiwa na Moi High School, Kabarak. So you can get that and more detail. That is on page 3, page 4 and also 5. And I see Dreams of Champions, top students in last year's Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination reveal the secrets to their success and also their aspirations as they prepare to join institutions of higher learning locally and abroad to pursue dream careers, with medicine and engineering topping their preferences. A story that we'll look into more detail on page 2. But I'd love to just read what one of the top students wrote down. And I see one saying, it's John Mark Olum of Nyambaria High School with an A of 84 points, saying, I would want to be a surgeon trained at Harvard. I have already conquered Kenya. I now want to conquer the world by studying in the best university in the world and even emerge the best. That's beautiful. And reading from one lady from Neema Toigat Moi Kabarak with an A of 80 points says, I'm grateful to God and I would like to pursue medicine and surgery at the University of Nairobi. The secret is in trusting God, and we also had a really strong support system. Quite a beautiful statement right there. And one thing that also captured my attention is we have surprises from little known schools. I think it's just yesterday we were saying with Gigi, we need to have a change, whereby not just these big schools that we're used to hearing are making the top. But I see that we have had surprises from little known schools, because I can see so many schools that most people do not even know about who have really performed well. And I see top of the list is Chogoria Girls, and we also have Sameta High. We also have maybe just going roughly, I see Kieni Girls, we have Kaplong Girls, we see Kaaga Girls High School with a mean score of 8.0. I also see Otieno Oyo High with 6.05, which performed quite well. And I also see a school called St. Catherine Chepnyal also did pretty well. Samitsi Girls. I think this is a good thing, just having them highlighted. And it's not just the top schools that we are seeing being recognized. It's really an encouragement to most of these schools, just to know that indeed they can do better and they can improve to make it to the gazettes next time. And I also see engineering and medicine are the stars' top choices. Top student at Lenana wants to be a surgeon and he hopes to join Harvard University. Those are big dreams right there. And my prayer is that God will indeed fulfill his desires. And I see students appeal to sponsors to help them realize their career dreams, join universities abroad. I mean, what I love about this is to see these students dreaming big, because even my own sister, she kept saying she sees herself also going abroad at some point. So it's a good thing when kids can dream big, because God honors those big dreams. I'm just reminded, yesterday I was watching a clip from Joyce Meyer, and she said, I'd rather ask for something big and get a part of it than ask for something little and get all of it. Yeah, that's food for thought. I've been thinking about it the whole time myself. And of course, for those who got an A and also an A minus, it was quite a good number. You can look at page 4, which has the list of all the students with A's, all the students with A minuses as well. Okay, and moving on forward, I see secret behind top grades at Moi High School, Kabarak. Quite interesting. And I think this is a page that even other schools who are aspiring to perform just like Moi High School in the future or even better can look into and get some tips. I see Chief Principal says each teacher is assigned students to nurture and monitor to ensure their needs are attended to on time. Wow, this is fascinating. She says learners are also exposed to different professions and mentors every year in June. I think what I see here is investment. I see a lot of investment when it comes to making sure that the individual needs of the students are met. This is what the chief principal says, that, each teacher anapewa students kadhaa to nurture and monitor to ensure that their needs are attended to on time. How wonderful is that? So in case a student has any problem, that means they have someone to reach out to. And I see another quote by Elisheba Cheriot, who is the chief principal, says, during the first academic day, we give parents the strategy detailing how we want to perform that year. The strategy also goes to the board, which now budgets for all that is needed to achieve the target. I think what I see here is that they are investing so that they can also get a return on the same. And I see here Moi Education Center basks in glory after good KCSE results. And this is also a very wonderful story that is in Nakuru. You can also look at it and see what they are celebrating about as well. I see new civilian staff locked out of jobs in police bosses row. NPSC chairman protest after hired employees are turned away on first day to work. Latest clash between Koome and Kinothia comes only months after another fight over promotions within the police service, a story that you can find in detail on page 7 of the Standard. And this is quite an interesting story here about Kalonzo. Anasema, I will be Ruto's biggest rival in the next presidential poll. He says, just like Tanga Tanga team of the Jubilee administration, the Wiper leader announces early campaigns ahead of 2027. I think this is why you say mapema and your best, yeah? And the former vice president says he wants a different outcome by going for the top seat. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's see how this plays out. And I see about 6,000 companies that Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka claims have left Kenya due to poor policies by the Ruto government. So I think what is happening is he's trying to also bring in a bit of critique to what is happening now, and I don't know if he's also giving us ways to improve or go ahead, and what he even plans to do when maybe he gets to be president in 2027. But that is a story that you can find in more detail on page 8. And I also see something else on Matters Politics, that Raila Wanjigi meets to plot against Ruto harsh policies. Another backlash right here. I see duo banking on growing dissent over unpopular tax measures and the high cost of living to trash the president's plans. And I see former PM is courting allies as he plans to counter Kenya Kwanza administration from all sides. Very interesting story right there. And I see the source, a source from Raila Wanjigi meeting says they explored strategies for exposing Kenya Kwanza, which has been lying to the public. Their discussions were focused on the economy and high cost of living. Very, very interesting. And I also see another interesting story right here, and that is on the strategy. I see mindset change is essential in the war against corruption. Quite an interesting article that you can look at by Henry Monene. That is on page 12. And when we go to the back page, which is basically the sports page for the Standard, Spurs to clash with the holders Manchester City in FA Cup. Man United beat Wigan to set up a date with either Newport County or Eastleigh in fourth ground. I see Chelsea will host Aston Villa. Fulham battle with Newcastle. And maybe just going over to the Daily Nation, what we have making the top page today is a story that has also been highlighted in the Standard, and that is small schools that fell giants. Beautiful, amazing. I see New Kids on the Block topping the charts in national exams has often been a preserve of the elite club of big schools with a long history of excellent performance, but not anymore. A new crop of little known institutions is out to shake up the old order and stake their claim to at the top. That is on page 4 and 5. Very interesting. I love when I see such things happening, because this just confirms to us that indeed it doesn't matter which school you go go to. It doesn't matter where you're positioned, you can still thrive if you are focused and determined. And I see also on page 2, still about the KCSE results 2023, I'm seeing that confusion, distress as grades on the NEC portal change. Interesting. I see a parent saying that it's very frustrating when a child gets 2 different results. How are we supposed to trust NEC? This is a very, very controversial story happening, and I see exam body official acknowledges receiving complaints from schools and also parents. So what happens? What happens with this happening? There seems to be a little bit of a glitch right there. And that story, you can find it on page 2. And, just in case you've also experienced the same issue, it will be very, very good to look at the story and know that this is something that is happening elsewhere, and just to know the way forward. I see also poverty could not hold back determined twins. This is beautiful. I see Davis Njoka and also Dennis Muthi. Congratulations to the two of them. They are from a poor background, but poverty did not prevent them from performing well in their KCSE examination, whose results were released on Monday, about 2 days ago. And the twins have done very well. This is a story that you can find on page 2. And I see also in page 3, it's a big surprise. Top girl who got an A says, and I see Maureen Wamboi, who's got an A, saying, back in school, the highest grade I ever got was an A minus, which was back in Form 1 during a term opening examination. Okay, wow, I think Vindu vichenjanga, things can really, really change. She says this surprised her. I mean, most students, they're like, I expected, and they even feel bad that they scored an A of 80 points and not 85 or even more. But this one is saying that she's shocked. She got an A of A plane of 82 points. Well, it just means that favor was on her side, and also she probably really worked hard come the KCSE exams. And I see underdogs emerge victorious in battle against the Titans. That's a story that we have also touched on. And I also see learners overcome Kibra poverty to ace KCSE exams. How amazing is that? It doesn't matter what background you come from, you can still perform well as long as you are determined, because all the resources you need are right there. And on page 6 and also 7 is amazing, beautiful pictures of the top students as well as their parents, and some of them are being lifted up. It's a beautiful, beautiful page to look at, and you can also look into that. Probably take a screenshot if you are here. And the same is happening on the next page. And matters politics, it's the same story that we've also highlighted in the Standard. Raila and Wanjigi meet in city after threats to hold protest. Again, this is happening. Both political leaders have castigated Kenya Kwanza government over the high cost of living in the country. And as we saw, they're banking on this very thing that has been a menace in the country right now to oppose the Kenya Kwanza government. I see Ruto renews feud with judiciary over projects, a story that we have also been looking at. I see U-turn on Sunday. Ruto had struck conciliatory tone and called the three arms of government to work together. He's vowed to deal with corrupt judges whom he accused of having teamed up with his political rivals to frustrate his agenda. This is on page 11. And very, very, very unfortunate is an accident that happened. I see witnesses blame speeding for crash that took 15 lives. And I think so many times when we get into the cars and the matatus, the public transport, you see they put a poster there and they're like, if at all the driver is driving fast, Zusha, say something. Don't just keep quiet. You need to speak out, even when you see that this driver is not driving the right way. Inabidi mnazusha tu, mnamwambia, we want to arrive safely. Police boss says area where accident happened is black spot and urges drivers to be cautious. And I think when we get to those really black spots, we need to be extra careful. Drivers, jamani, tujikaze, The driver of the bus fled after the accident, and we have launched a manhunt for him. We want him to shed light on what transpired before the accident. This is so wrong and so unfortunate that he actually ran away. This really leaves the whole situation chaotic, because now we don't even know what caused it. Was it intentional? What happened? And the fact that 15 lives were lost, this is even worse. And you can look into page 12 and look at that story in more detail. And we just want to say that our comfort and our condolences go to all these families who have lost their loved ones. I see 3 more suspects arrested in Meru bloggers murder probe. This has been going on for quite some time now, and we have 3 more suspects arrested in Meru bloggers murder probe. That was a really, really heinous act, and even the whole story itself is just depressing. But I pray that all this strife that is happening in our country is going to go down, and God will really, really help us. I see bouncers bodyguards set to undergo mandatory training. Okay, interesting. I see agency says it will be a requirement for the security providers to be vetted and also licensed. In the view of foregoing, the government has commenced the mandatory nationwide security vetting, training and licensing of all bouncers and bodyguards. This is, I think this could work pretty well. Especially for those who are usually hired for, areas and matters with security. And I also see something else here on the back page, that NHC in hot water for failing to give list of unsold houses. Of their authenticated housing inventory, 10.3 billion were additions in the year to June 2022. And I can see here that 113 in numbers is the parcels of land that are owned by the NHC, of which only 45 have title deeds, and also 770 billion value of rural housing loans whose recoverability is in doubt. And this is quite interesting because this is what has been happening. The affordable housing, the NHC actually stands for National Housing Corporation, has been put on the spot for failing to provide a detailed inventory of unsold property worth 3.2 billion for audit. Auditor General Nancy Gathungu has revealed that out of the authenticated housing inventory, 10.3 billion were additions during the year to June 2022 as a result of transfer of the Park Road Housing Scheme property and commercial shops from the State Department of Housing and Urban Development Corporation. A story that you can find in more detail that is on the back page of the Daily Nation. Also on the back page, public health officers back environment bill urge lawmakers to pass it. A story that you can also find on the back page. And at the sports page that is on the Daily Nation, I see Africa, the next frontier for Egypt's trophy hunter Salah. All right, interesting. Jiji aliniambia itabidi niji. I'm still deciding on which team I'll be on. I'm torn between Nigeria, Senegal and Cameroon. No, Senegal, okay. Anyway, these sports things, Anyway, I see Osimhen dreams of AFCON title to end to Nigerian suffering. All right, I think I'll go for Nigeria. I see it will be for a good cause. I see newly crowned Africa Player of the Year Victor Osimhen is a star on a mission. He wants to transform the suffering of Nigerian supporters into joy with an Africa Cup of Nations title. That's quite an interesting way to look at it. But I also see on the sports page, on page 34, that Beckenbauer, I don't know how to read that definitely, Beckenbauer, stylish Kaiser who ruled German game exists. For those who are lovers of sports, I think you can relate perfectly. And I see them saying that Franz, an iconic German player and later coach with a knack for leading his team to greatness, has died aged 78. Oh, our condolences as well. And I see the story has been put in very much detail. So much has been said about him, and that is on page 34. And lastly, just to flip over, maybe I can look into the Business Daily. The Business Daily is basically matters business and matters finances. I see here that winners and losers from the shillings record windfall, that is windfall for exporters, experts, remittance recipients paying for importance, dollar borrowers, and overseas students. All right. Movement in shilling exchange rate against major currencies. The shilling has struggled against major currencies despite various state interventions. It's quite unfortunate. I remember there was a time that 100 shillings, basically 100 shillings was basically $1. But right now things have really changed, and the problem is that the shilling has really struggled against major currencies. And this is a story that you can also find on the Business Daily. And I see Kenya's economy to grow 5.2% this year, says World Bank. And on other stories in the Business Daily, I see, how does electronic travel authorization work? Kenya joins countries such as Canada, Australia, and New Zealand in implementing ETA holders of Kenya passports or one-way emergency certificates issued by missions abroad are exempt from applying from their authorization. All right, a story that you can find on page 3 of the Business Daily. I see, does Kenya lose revenue as a result of this happening? I see citizens of the East African partner states, including Burundi, DRC, Rwanda, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda, will be exempted for 6 months. That is on the ETA. You can look at that in more detail. I see Nairobi, Kilifi counties top in piped water coverage. And I see here that top 10 counties in piped water coverage. Nairobi leads in piped water coverage with 86%, followed by Kilifi with 73%. You can look into that. Quite the numbers are quite impressive for those top 10 counties. And that is a story on page 4. AFC directors among defaulters of 3 billion loans, auditor says. Another story here about loans, and we have defaulters of up to 3 billion worth of loans. That is AFC directors, who is also among the list of the defaulters. Story that you can find on page 4. And then Bank of Africa gets 27 billion IFC funding for SMEs. 27 billion, that is amount Bank of Africa's parent firm will receive. You can look at that story in more detail. That is on page 6. And maybe on the back page, lastly, I see proactive planning can tide Kenyan farms over finance storms. Being on the front foot reduces pressure from lenders and allows management to act on its own terms. This is the back page with a very wonderful analysis from Rory Buchanan. And the last word says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. A quote. And the last word from Victor Emil Frankl. Thank you so much for staying through the dailies and what is on the papers. You can definitely get more details by grabbing one of the papers, but also you can tune in to Hope FM at the top of every hour. We have news updates, news on the go. And right here on Hope TV, we will be having Dira at 7 p.m. and also News Watch at 9 p.m. So that's it for the Daily Nation and the Standard, as well as the Business Daily. But for now, we are going to be ushering in the video of the day. See you shortly after this.